Hello, dreamers. Welcome, episode 12. Um, hope you're feeling it. Hope the doors are opening for you. Such a major shift is occurring, and it can be really uncomfortable. But it's really for those of us that it isn't uncomfortable for. It's just um, the opposite. Yeah, it's ecstatic. It's alignment. It's activity. It's the world's becoming real again. There's so much authenticity pouring in. There's so much vulnerability and honesty about to happen. Um, Exposure is about to happen. We're about to learn things. We're about to be a part of an incredible shift in just the whole structure of control. And those that are comfortable with the unknown are going to have an incredible experience, and those that are uncomfortable with it are going to go through a very difficult transition. And so it's okay to admit where you're at on that. We all have issues. Some of us deal with fluidity. I'm a very fluid person. It's really easy for me, but I've been training my whole life to be so. Um, but I still have major hangups with areas where you guys are way far beyond me because I avoided certain things that I'm still struggling to figure it out. So it's not like anybody has the upper hand on anything at all. It's just that comfort and discomfort are real aspects of our existence. And when you haven't had a lot of ego death and your ego deaths are pouring in, you don't feel, it doesn't feel like, you know, ecstasy. It feels like dying. And it is. Ego death is dying, right? So this is difficult times for a lot of people, but it's really liberating times at the same time. And some of us are kind of going through both. Either way, there's a lot of balance coming because the purification is happening whether we like it or not. And the vibrations are raising whether we like it or not. And so we're just naturally gravitating toward the place we need to go. And if we're resisting that, we're struggling. If we're accepting that, it's beautiful. Helping a lot of people kind of get real with themselves, and they're losing, there's a lot less anxiety because of it. I think people have been waiting for certain things to happen, and they've been looking to certain information as to be a way in which they can justify their actions. But people are getting grounded, going back to work, doing the things they need to do to like sort of be realistic with where they're at this time. It doesn't mean we can't prepare for being magical and evolutionary, and we will, and we're going to all have incredible breakthroughs. Um, Even though they may not seem as such, they all are, because the truth of things, the dreaming side of things, is about to become revealed, and you're going to realize that this illusion in which we interact with is a really dynamic platform of dreaming intent, and that shamanism and sorcery is real. Um, so yeah, there's just going to be an incredible long and beautiful transition into a flourishing world. And it looks like at first it's going to become a tyrannical dystopian nightmare. And in certain parts of the world, it is. It currently, that is playing out, and people who are in fear of that are, um, their nervous systems and a lot of different aspects of their being are being challenged to figure out how to handle that. And it's not going to be something that the most people are not going to be able to handle any of this very well. And the most people serve as a buffer for those of us that are here to handle it well. That may sound cold. It's not at all. It's just reality. uh, People are like a sea of energy, and that's why I like to be in big cities. I like to be around all that energy, right? Because it's not separate from nature. People are nature. We are nature. We're returning to nature. Purification is nature. And so there's nothing to be afraid of, nowhere to run to, nowhere to hide. Stop hiding, surface, face your feelings. Your feelings are your karma. So somebody asked about karma and dharma, and since there are no past or future lives, which is, that doesn't mean your soul isn't eternal, and that it's totally indestructible and nothing can happen to it. So it's not like There's not other experiences outside of this one. It's just that nothing is linear, not truly. So it can't be past or future. If it was past and future, regardless, they'd be occurring simultaneously, so that makes them parallel. So your parallel lives are going on with you, along with you right now, and all that you do right now in your life karmically to balance your being will affect your parallel lives, and that's how karma impacts the whole. That kind of karma, when you stop having negative thoughts about people, when you think people, when you see the beauty in others, when you're in the flow of love and you have self-love and therefore you love all and you're not projecting or saying that people are bad, and you're not, in that place of judgment, you're reserving, the dark sea of awareness, that opportunity to cast judgment, which isn't really judgment, but it'll just either consume or allow you to keep your awareness when you cross. So it's not like this heaven and hell and God is this masculine energy, and none of it's like that, you guys. It's really much more incredible than that. But we've had to look at it that way, and we've had to decode things in a way that, would make sense to us. But once that all goes away, the decoding goes away. It's just raw. And that's what shamans have offered here, is just an energetic explanation. It's barely explainable, but if you're willing to go along with me on this journey, we'll get to the explanation. Uh, I am still in the process, though, of reaching what's called the sorcerer's explanation that occurs when you have a very real and capable shaman teaching you. Because things are changing so much, that type of knowledge will become available in a new way. So none of what's Toltec is going into the future. None of what's Buddhist or Christian or any. None of that's going into the future. Everything's brand new, fresh slate. We're heading into the most incredible, liberated reality that was always there, that was just hidden in plain sight. And so we had to have all these elaborate rituals and all these ways of being. But it's time to start paying attention to yourself. Are you now a slave to your ritual? Is that sweat lodge become something that you've identified with your ego, or your prayer, or the way you eat, or the way you talk, or your focus, or where you live? Are you a slave now to the identity of that in which you thought was an evolutionary thing? More than likely. And so you gotta be willing to not be um, trackable, right? So pretend that you're an animal and that something's hunting you. You don't want to have routine. You don't want to be predictable. It doesn't mean you don't hold down a job or you don't live in the home you live in. It just means that you're letting spirit decide when you leave, what you do, how you do it. And you're not operating on autopilot, and you're being guided. And as a martial artist, you can tell if someone's coming for you to attack you. Real martial artists would never step into the UFC and fight for money. A real martial artist is a artist of peace. They're a fighter so that others don't have to fight. And their goal is to not fight if they're truly in the harmony of the movement, right? Because the movement liberates your energy, and you're training, and you're building this relationship with the earth and your body, and you're moving beyond that which is typically a limitation. And so you're becoming a sorcerer, you're becoming a shaman when you are a truly advanced martial artist. But only one aspect of it. And so sorcery is a dead end street, shamanism is a dead end street, martial arts is a dead end street, truthers, dead end street, religion, all of it. But to become a person of knowledge is to liberate and move and merge with all things, so that you're not in any form of like upholding a role. It's when you're willing to be completely indifferent. And indifference isn't something that is like a negative trait. Detachment, indifference. If you ever look into the eyes of an eagle, you'll see it cold, detached indifference. They have to be that way. I have to be that way too. Doesn't mean that I'm not loving and affection. It doesn't mean the eagle isn't loving and affection. My love for the earth is boundless. My love for myself I'm in love. I've fallen in love a long time ago with this, my experience, with my existence. So I've been able to build and cultivate a ton of energy because of that. So it's not like I'm not filled with affection, and I'm a sensual, passionate person that loves women and life and snowboarding and music and all of it. Um, but I'm completely cold and detached and indifferent because I have to be in order to be empty enough in order to handle the changes that I'm heading into. And I've trusted and known that in the teachers that I've worked with. So it's not something that I'm choosing to do. It's something I have to do. It's something you will have to do. Coldness doesn't mean that you don't care. It means you're willing to just look. You're willing to be an observer. And it looks cold. It appears cold. It kind of is cold. It's not compassion. It's you know you've reached the place of no pity. You no longer feel sorry for yourself, so you can't possibly feel sorry for somebody else. You can see what they're struggling with, and you recognize that you too have been through that, and you can speak to them in a way that would seem compassionate, but it's not truly compassion. It's love. And therefore you're willing to tell them the truth about their situation. You're willing to tell them that you're losing a ton of energy right now in this unnecessary emotional reaction, and if you don't get your shit together, you're going to spin back out into your addiction, and you're probably never going to surface. Because we're in a really unique time where our power is in place, and if we are focused on a very particular thing, it will happen, and it can become permanent. So this is a key moment, you guys, to find your Dharma and to heal your karma. And so the feeling that you're feeling, the, 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 the energy you're holding, the thoughts you have of others, your willingness to see the beauty in others. This is karma. It's a really um, it's a really unique way of looking at things. But you have nothing to fix from your past life. There's nothing to sort of protect into your future life. This is it. I want you to be all in. It doesn't mean you won't re-enter the wheel of time if your awareness isn't, reaches a certain level, but this idea that like we're responsible for, you know, fixing this predicament that we're in. I mean, we were abused mentally, physically, emotionally, just by the fact we were enslaved into such a conditioned environment. So you have to kind of, I don't know, make peace with that and not take it on. But then be like, okay, well, fuck, what else am I going to do but take responsibility for this situation and go out and face the aspects of myself that I'm uncomfortable with so that I can become whole. Face your shadow. It's the only way you'll be able to remove yourself from the distractions. I'm not going to let me be a distraction for you. That's why I talk the way I do. I'm speaking to your body. I'm speaking past that mental part of you, so that this isn't something, you know, that you can apply to your ego. This is confronting, life-changing, redirecting, revolutionary way of perceiving things. Um, you never know who you're working with or talking to in this world. They may be a magical shaman or a being from another reality or dimension. So you can't be in judgment. That would be slow. That would not be fast. You have to be willing to change speeds with your awareness. Yeah, so I want you guys to be powerful, not programmed. I want you to have access to your real imagination, not what you think is your imagination, not what the hard voice told you it is. There's a much, much more dynamic imagination. And it isn't even imagining, it's images. It's you going into the images of the creator that the creator is producing. And that's what I was in last night. And it's alive. And if you spend time in it, you become alive and you discover your Dharma. And your Dharma is your purpose. Your Dharma is your contribution. Your Dharma is what you came here to do. And not everyone reaches their Dharma. It's a painful world. It's not like, but that's okay that they don't reach their Dharma and that they suffer. That's part of it. That's part of the buffer. That's part of the collective. And yet, all of it is malleable. All of it's changeable. We can redirect and intend the evolution of our world. Women have the most powerful tool available. Their womb is what's called a dreaming box. And when a woman becomes a dreamer, she can intend evolution through the most powerful aspect of her being. She discovers a secondary function of that organ. Women used to conceive children without men by cloning. They could clone a child, so they could birth a baby that was exactly the replica of them. And that went on for a very, very long time. And this earth is very, very old. And men are very, very new. Men are a very new energy here. It doesn't mean that the masculine and the feminine hasn't always been here. It's just that the actual um, way in which we conceive children, the way in which we interact in this physical environment, all of that has changed with the newness of the male energy that has arrived. Um, and so the dark sea of awareness can teach this real history to us, the way in which we've merged and interacted with other layers and other perceptions. And there are other interdimensional beings, and there are beautiful ways in which we can make informed communication with them, like I have with Erica, like I have with other spirit guides. I got a lot of really beautiful messages from people about Erica, about that share, and I really appreciate it, and I'm so glad you guys felt and saw her. She really is available to see and be and feel, and yeah, she's with me now, and she's just the most incredible being, and she's helping so many, you know. So yeah, it's just, this boundary that you think is permanent isn't. You're gonna be able to interact in dreaming like I am, and I haven't even begun, so the doors are gonna fly open, you guys. But at first you're being told that no, I just don't think I can do that, or that's just for him, and and but trust me, it's okay. Any part of this that you enjoy or are interested in is a beneficial part to your job, to your relationship, to your parenting, your being being your relationship with your parents. There's so much we get to heal, even though that our real our real mother and father is the masculine and feminine, and the earth mother and the sun, the source of our existence. We can still express our love to the real mother and the real father through our biological mother and father as best we can by speaking to their higher self. If we can't have conversations with them, we can speak to the part of them that can receive it, and will receive it when they cross. So when a person is posthumous, they're no longer upholding their ego, and so they can see and understand all that you were doing and all that you were saying that they couldn't before. They are able to forgive themselves and everyone. And so I would work on talking to all of your friends and family and loved ones this way. Speak to their higher self, even if you can't get to the place of authenticity with them where you can have really beautiful, direct, honest conversations with them. But if you can do that, oh my God, that's the best, you guys. And that's really happening for me now with everyone that's close to me. We're getting past the armor and getting real. And there's a lot of emotion. Men are really, really struggle with being emotional. I am included. Um, so just because I have cold indifference doesn't mean I don't have incredible floods of tears and lots of energy that moves through me. It's beautiful. I don't resist it. But I mean, sorry, I resist it, but once it comes, I don't. And I just, I'm just getting to know myself just like you guys are. I just have spent a lot of time alone because I wasn't willing to spend my time doing anything but what I absolutely wanted to do. And I wanted to hang out with people, but there were so few people I wanted to hang out with. And so I wasn't willing to hang out with people except the ones I wanted. And those people were very sought after. And so I rarely, I got my time with them. And eventually I got them to see things the way I was. And then I just hung out with them and they quit hanging out with all those people just because that kind of needs to happen sometimes. But so, I'm just pointing out that like your willingness to be alone, your willingness to take care of yourself moment to moment. Um, you know, if you are partying and going for it, that you do so in a dynamic, creative, imaginative way so that it's evolutionary. There's a way to not be a slave while it would still appear that you're doing slave like things. And I think that's the most powerful thing you can do so that nothing has power over you. You can walk into any situation and not get drained. Now, there's moments, like when you're at a festival and somebody invites you into a certain situation, you're like, whoa, you can just feel it. Like they're just, and so I've walked close to some really sketchy situation with women and drugs and power. And, I've had to like get back to my vehicle and like grab my power objects and like anchor into the earth and like really get my energy worked out because I was being pulled on a level that I hadn't before. So the challenges increase, but that's when you discover who you are and where you're at, what kind of energy you have. And so I do recommend working with objects when you're ready, stones and earth-based things that can realistically give you the grounding and balancing that you need. Um, and this will help you to feel and know the earth. I think you guys don't know or understand the depth of connection you can have with the earth mother. Um, like I've talked about, you can fully go to her. It does. It can happen at one time in a major ego death, like a burial, if you bury yourself in the earth. Um, it can happen in a lot of different cool ways, but the more and more encounters you have with her, eventually it becomes like really, really a divine and a clear bond. And so there's nothing like this journey to meet her on that level. So there's nothing else to do. And if you do that, you'll be good. You won't have to worry about whether you'll listen. She'll get to you. She'll help you to balance your being and balance your karma. And she'll speak to you about your dharma. And look, I'm still working toward my dharma with all this time I've spent with her. So it's not like, you know, yeah, some of you will just exponentially change for sure. And it's because your timing of what you need to do with the other contracts is key. But it's okay to just be at peace with all of it and go slow, like I've talked about, because real there is no time. It's all about stopping. And so stopping the world is what happens when you stop having thoughts. If you stop the world, it becomes so much more interesting. Everything starts to move. It's alive in there. You want to let your perception become flexible. You are not fixed. You are so much more than that. And your astral body wants to become free. All my life, ever since I discovered dreaming, like when I'm driving, another part of me is like snowboarding the bank. I'm seeing, like, a part of me is just traveling along. Not as much as a full on shaman does. They actually have that ability to let two parts of themselves, or to split perceptions and let one of them do something completely different than the other. I'm honing my dreaming body. I'm building that capacity so that I'll be able to do things of that nature. Um, but it will not be of the Toltec realm. I'm letting go of everything of the past. So I'm just moving into a blank slate. We're going to build a brand new way of interacting. with all of it based on the new guidance that's pouring in. But all the training I went through is preparing me for being sort of a just an advocate for that, somebody that can say, hey, yeah, this worked in the past, but remember, we're letting this out go. And then you guys will be bringing in, ushering in the new gnosis. You guys will be bringing in, like, wait, what if we did this, and why don't we do? It's just so simple. And there's somebody out there who's going to have one idea, one simple concept is going to show up in their life, and they're going to share it, and it's going to change the trajectory of every single person's life forever, and therefore every other birth and every other, so like you're all in this collectively. So let's send the love to that person. That person is you. That's me. Let's send love to each other so that that one aware being becomes, it's just so simple, you guys. It's so beautifully simple. And yet its power to be able to do what I did last night requires that you're willing to be in your power, and you're willing to face power, you're willing to come to terms with power. This is a world of power. The people that are trying to force more lockdowns are powerful. They're sorcerers. They are the old families that have been running this game for a long time. They figured out how to consume things that they shouldn't. That they figured out how to access a very um, aberrant but abstract way of longevity, right? So they consume things that will cause them great harm, but in the meantime, it is a way of defying death. They do things that allow them to have power over others and gain from that feeding frenzy. They made a deal with forces, and those forces have made a deal with them, but neither of them understand that deal that they've made. So there's a lot of unconsciousness and confusion. And sorcerers used to eat each other. If a sorcerer was dying, the other sorcerers would eat that sorcerer to make sure that all of the energy that sorcerer had was didn't go to waste. And that's how out of balance things got and still are. So we are going to heal all of that, and those that were part of that aren't able to go into the new. If you unfortunately um, murdered and shed blood of another human. I'm not talking about animals. The animals are all of the earth. Every animal is the earth mother herself, and she can handle all of our confusion and all of our misuse of her, because she is a transmutable, transformative, transcendental, evolutionary consciousness. So if you killed an animal or ate animals, it has nothing to do with whether or not you're going to move into the next layer. But if you took a life, if you shed blood, if you did certain things, it will be very difficult for you to be in going into the new cycle. That doesn't mean you're not going to play a role, and you may, you know, play a really incredible role. Um, I mean, we all play an incredible role. Our contract is critical, and we're all fulfilling it. And it's just about coming to terms with it, making peace with all of it. And so yeah, there's just a lot for in our karma, in our dharma um to know. It seems too simple, but it's just that your karma is um in each feeling, each action. uh, Truly, like when you let people pass you on the freeway, when you make room, when you're supportive of others, when you're willing to help people when they need help, when you're um you can tell somebody's having an experience and they need someone to talk to, and you're willing to be that person. All that just sort of like brings balance to you, because you're bringing balance to the whole, and everything works collectively. And that just leads to like these clarities that lead you to your dharma, which brings the ecstasy from having reached the longing in your being. and we all have a great longing. We're all completely um, creatures of longing, and that's why I've come to terms with the fact people don't realize how much pain they're in. And so, where I have to start with people is helping them to find out where their pain is. And by talking to their body and getting past their mind and helping them do particular movements to unlock aspects of their shadow through their perception, we just get real honest. Um, and it really is unveiling. So, no point in pretending, no point in uh, acting as if you are prepared for something that you're not. It's okay if you're not prepared for something. There's nothing really to prepare for. It's just whether your longing is leading you toward the place where you're willing to observe your suffering. And in your observation, are you willing to pull yourself out of it? Because what's the difference? It takes just as much energy to be miserable as it does to be completely content. The same amount of energy. I don't know. I know it seems like the opposite, but it's not. Um, so, coming to terms with that, and then facing the things in your life that can balance your karmic life. So, it may be that you need to go get that job just because you're there to deliver a piece of karma. You're there to help somebody be a shoulder to cry on. Ask what you can do, not what can be done for you. And all of the perceptual adjustments that are needed for you to become strong, grounded, honest, authentic, patient, sweet, ruthless, cunning, all the warrior attributes that you're going to need to develop in order to become, to have healthy boundaries. You know, if you can be alone for long, long, long periods of time without feeling any sort of energy loss, um, and you're not needing to distract yourself, then you'll reach unbending intent. The reason I can help you now is because I have unbending intent. So if you have a problem in your life and you want to work one on one through the process of working with someone that has unbending intent, as I did, you're just you're in the vibration of that intention. And that's why, even though my teachers are all proving to be shadow teachers, out of balance people, they all gave me the most incredible gifts, because by hanging out with these people, I was able to move my perception to the place that they move theirs toward. And I was able to cultivate what's called dreaming attention and move toward harnessing unbending intent. And so I knew I was guided, even though these situations didn't seem, like they were going to be sustainable. I had to go along with it because part of me knew that I was there to gain that. And so don't be afraid to gain that wherever, you know. I'm not the only one out there that has unbending intent, and I have a different perspective probably than anyone you'll hear from that's offering this, information or these concepts. But it doesn't mean that there's not tons of people to gain unbending intent from. They're in the workforce too. You might find one as a boss, and that's a real gift. Um, so I hope that you guys will keep expanding. I'm not saying go get a job. I'm not saying do things different than you're doing. You may be in total harmony and have figured out, how to have a beautiful way forward, and I'm happy for you. But if you do have things that you're avoiding, let's talk about it. Ask me questions. I can talk about it on here. Um, your karma isn't something that you can just fix overnight. It's something that starts to grow as a beautiful way of moving toward your Dharma. And I don't mean to offend anybody that studies karma and Dharma from a Buddhist perspective. I'm borrowing from those words. I, I probably shouldn't. But they're words that people seem to know already. And so Toltecs would refer to it more as, just impeccability and knowing what you're waiting for. And so you're at peace because you know that there's so much more, and that so much more will be revealed. And you live an impeccable life because you're waiting for that revelation. And you know that it's magical, and you know that you have no idea what it's going to be. You know that it's a somersault of thought into the unknown, and you know that you long for the unknown, and that you come to peace with how afraid you are. And so you've let your fear go. And so impeccability is truly embracing all of the feelings that you have and fulfilling the actual process of going through them until you know yourself, and then you take care of yourself because you know yourself. It's the most loving thing you can do. You think saving the children and all that is the most loving thing you can do. It's not. You don't know what their contract is. There's nobody for you to save. If that's your focus, then you've been misguided, and you're distracted. You are the one that needs saving. And the most loving thing you can do for this world is to save yourself, because you are needed. Your wholeness is the vibration that, when it becomes balanced, the 100th monkey effect will be benefited, right? So Toltecs do not go around trying to save people. They follow signs. They take care of themselves. They know that the unconsciousness serves as a buffer, and they're not at odds with this story, and they're not trying to save the world. There's nothing to save. It's already incredible. It's just that we're now moving into a time in which that incredible energy is going to be revealed to so many more than it was before. And so we all play a role in that, and we will be needed. Those of us that can handle the intensity will be needed to help those that are new at it. So I'll be training people, you'll be training people, they'll be training people to help the people that are new, and I'll be working with the people that are helping the people that are helping the people that are like it just, we're all in this, in sort of the appropriate places for the appropriate amount of experience, just like any other structure, right? There's structure with the way the birds fly. There's structure the way Toltecs discovered dreaming. There is structure to the galaxies, or to the heavens, to the stars, to the cosmos, to the dome of the wall. There is structure to the tensegrity structures of this earth, the trees. There's structure to energy. I want you to discover your structure, your foundation. What's it based on? What feelings is it based on? I don't want you to be afraid of establishing energetic structure, creative structure, focused, foundational aspects of practicality that will make it so that you can become really, really capable in the psychedelic realm, which is where all the ecstasy and all the exploration lies. But if you go in there recklessly, and you just have to keep taking medicines to stay there, it's not sustainable. So you can get really focused, do all these powerful movements, recapitulate your life, cross the gates of dreaming, and become a creature of pure affection. That is the gift you can give to save everyone and everything. That's what the children need from you. It doesn't mean you can't multitask, and you can still support people, and you can still be part of the physical world. But I'm telling you, if you got called into here, I can almost guarantee it's your purpose is to go inward. And in that inwardness, the karma that is then effects, or the magnetism, the impeccability, the joy, the infectious nature of that ecstatic intensity, it creates a ripple. So that's where that's at, and it's a real thing. It's not something anyone can argue against. I mean, they could, suggest that it's spiritual bypassing, right? And that's what will be said. Um, but I can explain over and over and over why that is not. Facing oneself is not bypassing. So I hope that becomes really obvious, and there will be less confusion about what we're here to do. I hope everyone's well and amazing. This is incredible, you guys. It's about to get really, really strong. Um, Sending love. I um I hope that the ripple that you share with this world is one you feel capable of continuing, right? So let's get your energy level to a place where you can sustain the amount of joy that you want to spread. Feel free to reach out if that's something you want to work on privately. Um, as this gets, further along, we will do some private groups and some live groups and stuff too. So let me know if you're interested in that so that I can see kind of when we'll be ready for that, just kind of based on how many people are wanting to meet um, in a group setting. So take care, you guys. Enjoy. Be well.